Do you want to learn about options trading in a live setting with people who are serious about their financial future? The highest paid online options trading academy is hosting a live event on October 21, 2023 in Atlanta, Georgia. The event will only seat 30 people. After the 30 seats are sold, this event will be closed. Here is some of what you will learn at this live options training. How to use the options market to finance your dream lifestyle. The #1 secret to safeguarding the money you make in trading. Why the options market is a hidden gem. Most overlook. How to develop the power of waking up and knowing you will make money in the market. You will leave with a solid understanding of how to successfully leverage the options market to get the life you desire. Don't waste all of your time trying to figure out options trading by yourself. Go directly to optionstraining.info and sign up right now.
And what we're going to talk about is why men can't pay their bills, right? And so my goal with this particular broadcast is to try to give you something that's going to be solution-based, based around a topic that is a hot topic. And so what's going to make me different than everybody else is that I'm not going to just continue to regurgitate this topic over and over again as a ways to generate YouTube AdSense revenue. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is empowering people with the skills that they can use to get the life that they desire, right? I don't run a business model where we just keep regurgitating the problem over and over again, and then I give you like little pieces of a solution, but you never ever arrive at the real solution, because that's how my business model is based. So, we got in the pharmaceutical space where we talk about how the treatment is always worth more than the cure, which is why you never get any real treatment, because they built their business model off spoon feeding you treatment, but never actually curing the actual disease, because they need the disease to stay around so they can keep making money. So we know in pharmaceutical space, there are actual cures for a lot of diseases, but they're never going to get released, because why? If I can treat you until you die for something, why would I ever give you the cure? So we see a lot of that in the relationship space. We don't ever look to solve a person's problem relationship wise. We look to keep regurgitating the problem because we know the system will create the problem. I only talk about the problem. I offer a little bit of the treatment, and the system creates more people that also have the same problem. So I have an endless supply of people to serve with my relationship-based business model. This is why I don't do the relationship space, because it's not solution-based. So we're going to get into this, right? Okay, so what we're talking about is why men can't pay all the bills, right? The 50-50 relationship myth. And this is something that's a really big topic on the internet, right? Is talking about whether or not people should be in 50-50 relationships, whether the man should pay all the bills, whether the woman should pay all the bills, and all the dynamics around that. And the reason why people keep talking about it is because it's an emotional hot button topic. It brings a lot of people out. It creates a lot of controversy. And we as Black people, we love the relationship space. We're experts on it, right? We're not experts on making money. We're not experts on real estate. We're not experts on cryptocurrency. We're not experts on building power. But we like all NBA when it comes to relationship content, right? We the 91 Dream Team when it comes to relationship content. We got the best people in the world at that, right? So we're so good at it, we just stay in that lane forever and ever and ever and ever. And so we don't want a solution, because why do I want to create a solution and destroy my business model? So this is a really, really big hot button topic around men being able to pay all the bills, the 50-50 relationship myth, whether women should go after men that can pay all the bills, or whether they should go 50-50, and yada, yada, yada. And then we can spin a million variations off this particular main topic and create a lot of different business models, meetups, symposiums, books, all kinds of services, one-on-one counseling, yada, yada, yada. It's just like the pharmaceutical space, never going to provide the cure, only going to continue to provide the treatment, right? We're not going to kill our business model, right? We're just going to keep treating you. We're never going to cure you, right? So that's what I want you to understand. So I'm going to talk about myself, right? One of the biggest challenges that a lot of men are having, it is something that's not really addressed, because what we don't do is talk about mental health for men, but especially for Black men. Black men are not supposed to have a psyche. What I mean by that is that Black men are not supposed to have a full psychological spectrum that they exist on. This goes back to slavery. It goes back to stereotyping, and it goes back creating a justification of how you treat Black men. Therefore, we're not supposed to have a fully developed psyche. One of the reasons why I was a big Tupac fan is because Tupac was the first rapper I ever heard that actually spoke about Black men having a fully developed psyche. It wasn't just, I'm a killer. It wasn't just, I'm a playboy. It wasn't just, I'm this, super militant guy. I have a full psyche. I go through things in life, yada, yada, yada. his most powerful song that I ever heard, and you can go listen to it. It was on one of his post-death releases, is My Only Fear of Death. When he made that song, I said, how does this guy know what I'm going through right now? Right? Because he could understand black people. He talked about black men on a level that a lot of people wouldn't talk about us on, because it make you're made to feel like I'm gonna come across as soft if I expose the fact that I'm going through this type of stuff, right? So I would, encourage you to really check that song out. I know it's on YouTube. It's called My Only Fear of Death. It really is My Only Fear of Death is a comeback reincarnated. That's a very deep song, and you might not get it because you never lived a certain lifestyle. But most definitely, I could relate to that song when he dropped it, because I was going through that type of stuff, and I was having those kind of questions about a lot of things in my life, right? And so what we don't really deal with is that a lot of black men deal with the issue of expectation, right? So it's a fear of not living up to expectations. So when a lot of times when we talk about this situation of why black men are not at a certain level in society, why they're not a certain level financially, we always talk about everything else, which goes back to blaming the black man. And what we don't talk about is the psychological ability. So let me tell you a really quick story. I'm from Orlando, right? So down the street from my house was this park, and there was a big court on the park, full court. And so I kind of learned how to play basketball on that court. But when I was real young, I would go to that court and I would see the older guys out there, and I would be scared to get into the game because I was worried that if I didn't play to their expectations, they would be disappointed in me. And so that was a big issue I had when I was really young in sports, is that I was worried people would see me and believe I was a certain level of player just by how I looked. And I was worried that I wouldn't live up to that. So it would create an anxiety in me before I competed, because I was worried that I'm not going to go out here and do what people think I should be doing. Right. And it took me a long time to get over that, because what I realized is that it don't matter what you do, somebody's going to say that you could have did something different. I seen LeBron go out in finals and score triple doubles, and people say he gave up. And I'm like, well, he got a triple double. How he gave up? Oh man, he gave up. He didn't play hard. So it took me a long time to realize that it didn't matter what I did as an athlete. Somebody was going to always say I didn't do enough. But when I was real young, I was worried that I wasn't going to live up to people's expectations of me. So as a result, what did I do? I avoided the competition. And it took me having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he really made me snap out of it, because he told me something on the court one day. And once he told me that, I never had that issue again. Right. So I felt like God told him to tell me that. But I had an issue when I was real young. I'm talking like 10, 11, 12 years old. I was tall enough to play with older people, but I was worried that they thought I was going to show up a certain way. And if I couldn't show up that way, then they would look down on me. So then what I did was I ducked the competition. And I think a lot of people don't talk about how a lot of people, they fear I can't live up to somebody else's expectation of me, because one, they may feel like it's too high, or they may not be used to people having expectations of them. So when we're talking about black men, the question we want to ask is, are they used to having expectations of them financially? See, so before you say, well, you need to be doing this, are you used to doing that? So how many black men do you know are used to being held to a financial standard before you met them? Right? So you're a woman, you meet this black man. Was he used to being held to a standard financially before you ever met him? So do you notice? So if he's used to being held to a standard, let's say he works a sales job, and the sales job is that if you don't sell at a certain level, you're done. They're going to fire you. Right? Then, so he's used to being held to a financial standard. Right? But if this person is not being used to being held to a financial standard, they may avoid the expectation because, wow, I'm not used to it. So me as an athlete, once I got seasoning and I started to get into my later teens, I didn't care what nobody said, because I knew you can't make everybody happy. You can go in a game and score 30 points and somebody's going to say you should have scored 40. That's just how it works. You can go in a game and score 50 points. Somebody's going to say you should have got 15 rebounds, right? You can go in a game and and do this, and somebody say, hey man, you messed up on this play. Somebody gonna always have a critique to say, well, you didn't grade out. It's almost impossible to grade out at an A as an athlete, because a coach can always find something wrong with you. So until you realize that, you may worry about expectations. And what we don't ask is that, has this person, right, are they used to being held to a financial expectation? Because if I'm dealing with an athlete and I don't know whether or not they're used to being held to a financial to an expectation of play, and then I put it on them, they may not perform, right? So I want to give you a really, really quick story. So years ago, right, you may not know who this person is, and we're going to talk about him. A basketball player named Kobe Bryant, right? They in the finals. Shaq foul out. Kobe go out there and just get busy. He just put up crazy points to help the Lakers win. I think it was in an overtime period when they was playing the Pacers. Could be wrong. Could have been the Jersey Nets. It was almost 20 years ago now. But the reason why Kobe could perform in that environment is because the expectation was already put on him. Let me give another example. Look at LeBron James. How has LeBron James been able to carry a team this long throughout his career? He's always done it. There's never been a point where he hasn't carried the ball club. So it's not that he's worried about, oh, I can't. This is just normal to him. I'm going to go out here. Not only am I going to score, I'm going to help everybody else get involved. That guy's been under a lot of pressure his whole career, because he don't just score, he gets everybody else involved. But because that expectation was put on him at a very young age, he adapted to the expectation. He can handle the expectation. It's not a big deal for him. But if you took somebody that wasn't used to that, so let me give an example. I'm a player on a team. No, I'm using a lot of sports analogies, but I want you to get this. I average 10 points a game, right? I'm playing on a team with Katrina, right? Katrina averaged, let's say, 30 points a game, right? Katrina take 20-something shots a game to get to 30 points. Katrina get hurt. They say, David, we need you to pick up the scoring, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take Katrina's shots and we're going to not give them to you. Do I have the psychological ability to manage that expectation? Now, because now we're going out in the game and we're running plays to me for me to score. Well, before I was getting all my points by running the lanes, getting my ball off the rim, right? And getting what we call garbage points. Now we're running plays directly to me to score. So the scoring responsibility and the scoring expectation is on me. See, this is what people don't understand when they just playing pickup ball with their friends. When you playing for a team and we're running plays for you to score, we need you to score. Why? Because we're running plays for you. So if you're not scoring, we're going to lose because we're taking shot opportunities and we're giving them to you as opposed to giving them to somebody else. So there's an expectation now that you have to be able to put the ball in the hole, right? So do I have the ability to adapt to that expectation? Because my role on the team, I didn't care about scoring. To me, scoring was easy. I wanted to play defense, right? Because to me, defense was hard. Offense was easy. Because my attitude is if you got the ball in your hand and you know where you're going, scoring is easy. But the fans like scoring more than they like defense. I like playing defense because defense is hard because I don't know what the other person's going to do, so I got to anticipate everything. But if they give me those points, they give me those shot attempts, can I live up to it? And most people can't. They just think they can because in the fitness club, they doing their thing, but they're not under real pressure as a scorer. So here's how you condition yourself as a scorer. Here's a drill I used to do. Put the ball at one end of the court, right? Put the ball in the one basket, run down to the other end of the court, run back. Pick the ball up, do a post move, drop step, jump hook. If that don't go in, get the ball, do a layup, put the ball back on the floor, run back down to the end of the court, run back down to the other end of the court, pick the ball off the floor, do a post move, score the ball. If you miss it, get the rebound, do a layup, run back down to the end of the court, run back down to the other end of the court. You do that 5 times. You know why you do that? Because you condition yourself how it feels to have to score every time down the court. Because in a real game, you can't relax. You got to play. So, when you playing fitness league, fitness club ball and you just BSing, of course you want to shoot the ball every time because you ain't under no real pressure to score. But when you got to run down the court, play defense on one end, then come down the court, they're going to give you, the ball coming to you. They're going to give you the ball. You got to score because why? We're giving you the shot attempt, so we need you to score. You got to run back down, play defense again, come back down. We're going to give you the ball. Now you know what Jordan went through, right? Now you know what Dream went through. Now you know what Kobe went through. Now you know what Curry going through. It's a lot of responsibility, so you got to be able to live up to that expectation, and most people don't want that expectation, right? Because if you don't score, the team loses. Right? What Durant has been doing is not easy because why? He has to score. Why? We're giving you the ball. So his workout has to be based on him living up to that expectation. So I think a lot of people don't ask themselves, has this person been used to this expectation before I ever came in contact with him? Because if you just try to put that expectation on that person, they can't handle it, then they can't handle it. And you got to ask yourself that question, right? And it's about that individual person. Trying to put this on everybody is BS because you're not dealing with everybody. You're dealing with that person, right? And I think that's something a lot of people don't want to deal with. And we're going to get a little bit deeper, right? So the second thing you want to ask yourself is how can you conform to a role that you were not trained to do? See, this is something that nobody want to ask themselves. So if I'm asking somebody to live up to a standard, how can you conform to the role that you weren't trained to do? Right? So if I'm telling somebody that I need you to lead financially and you weren't trained to lead financially, how can you conform to the role? See, nobody wants to ask, so because it don't make sense to ask this question because we just want to talk about 50-50 and who should get the plate and yada, yada, yada. So if I'm expecting something out of you, did I train you to do it? So if I'm telling you I want this man to live up to paying all the bills, was he trained to do that? So nobody can answer that question. Was he trained to do that? So do you just say, hey, can I just pull somebody out of the crowd at an NBA game and say, I need you to score 30 points tonight? Were they trained to do that? Right? Can I pull somebody? The Bucks gonna play the Cowboys on Monday. Can I pull somebody out of the crowd in Tampa and Tom Brady get hurt and say, hey, I need you to play quarterback? And if they can't play quarterback, I say, hey, man, you're what's wrong with black people because you can't play quarterback. Well, they trained to play quarterback. So we know how Tom Brady has trained himself to play quarterback. He's been trained to do that. So we can put the expectation on him. Why? Because he's been trained to do that. But can I pull a black person out of the audience on Monday if Tom Brady get hurt? Pull a black man out and say, can you play quarterback for the Bucks? Well, no, I can't play quarterback. That's what's wrong with black men. You can't play quarterback. You can't step up to the occasion. Was he trained to play quarterback? So how can he conform to the role of quarterback if he was not trained ahead of time to do it? And then has he been tested in this area to know that he's available to do it? So this is what nobody don't want to deal with because, like I said, it don't make good YouTube content. The arguing and the going back and forth, that's what makes good content. But I can't hold somebody to an expectation, and I can't hold somebody to a role if I don't know they were trained to do it. Because if they weren't trained to do it, before I can hold them to it, I got to train them to do it, right? Then I got to evaluate them to find out whether or not they were trained properly to do it before I put them in that particular environment. That's how you train people properly, right? So let's go into some of the action points, right? So you're a woman that wants the man to pay the bills. Have you investigated who trained the man before you got into the relationship and started having sex with the person? This is a question nobody don't want to ask. You're a woman, you meet a man. You want him to pay the bills. Have you investigated, right, who trained the man before you got into a relationship? Because you put the expectation on the person when you meet him. So do you know who trained him? So that would involve maybe going and meeting his family and finding out, did they train him to do this? Right? Because if not, why is you having sex or why are you in a relationship with the person if you haven't if you don't know whether or not they've been trained? But see, because we don't promote real marriages and real partnerships, it's just sex and people doing their own thing. Nobody asks this question. So a person has a child from somebody and you never met the person's family. They can have genetic defects in their family line. You wouldn't know because you ain't never met them. because I'm not going to get married. So what I need to meet their family for, but I have unprotected sex with them, right? They can have sickle cell trait. So then you got sickle cell trait. They got sickle cell trait. So now the baby got sickle cell. Because you ain't no go look at the family and ask what illnesses are in this family. Well, you know, we got people, we got sickle cell trait. Well, my family got sickle cell trait too. We probably don't need to have no baby because we'll produce a baby with sickle cell trait or sickle cell. They develop sickle cell because we both got the trait, right? Or there's mental illness in our family. I don't want to have no children with you because I don't want to take the risk that we're going to have mental illness. So no disrespect, but I don't want to take, you know, you have all kind of things that go on inside people's family. But if you don't ever talk to nobody in the family, you don't know. You're just having children with them. Then all of a sudden you want to talk about everything, what's wrong with them. You should have been figured that out. That's why you go deal with their people first. See what kind of people they come from, right? Because you may go deal with their people and be like, I don't want to be around these folks. So I'm good. I'll just pass this one up. Let somebody else deal with that. Because I don't want to be around these kind of people. So then you see what have they been trained to do? Because you might like them, but realized they never been trained to do nothing. I just like the person. So then I can't hold them to an expectation they haven't been trained to be. So then you got to realize I'm starting from square one with this person, and you got to take everything that come with that. What you can't do is get a baby from the person, right? And then it don't work out, and then you on YouTube on an 8-hour live stream and talking about what's wrong with black men. Because I would have told you, have you gone, if you was a member of my family, what do you know about their family before you got with them and started having unprotected sex? Then it's going to be, I'm going to have a conversation by myself because now I'm putting it back on you. So that's the question you want to ask women. Before you lay up and start having sex with that man, have you dealt with his people? Where his people from? A lot of times people don't even know. Got babies, some people don't even know their family, right? You could be having, you know, you could have a reptile child. How you know? You don't even know the people. So you a woman, right? What is your role in the relationship? So let me give an example. In the military, you got something called support staff, right? Support staff is designed to support soldiers in the military. The United States military has the most support staff, right, of any military in the world because we spend more money per soldier than any military in the world, right? So we have support of the people. So the infantry gets support. We spend more money per soldier than any military in the world, and we give the most support per soldier than any military in the world. So let's say we got a guy on the basketball team. Take that example. We got Tom Brady. What did Tom Brady do when he got to the Bucs? He started trying to surround himself with offensive talent. Why? He needs support. He can't just, at his age, he can't just do it by himself like he did in 2010. Right? He needs support. You can't put Tom Brady out there in 5 average receivers. He need good receivers now. He need good running backs. He need good tight end play. So what they do now is Tom Brady, when he went to the Bucs, what did he do? He got on the phone and started calling people up. Why? Because I need support. So if we're going to tell Tom Brady, we need you to be Tom Brady saying, I need you to support me. You're the woman. What is your role in the relationship if the guy's paying all the bills? You get women that say, I want men, you know, I believe in chivalry for men. Well, in chivalry, the woman got a role too. It's not just on the man, it's also on the woman. The woman has to conduct herself a certain way in this structure. It ain't just on the man. And often what we've built in this world is that everybody have an expectation of the other person. When you ask them what's their role in the situation, they can't tell you. So if they put me on the team and they say, David, we already got our scorer. We already got our point guard. We already got our big man. What we bringing you in to do, right, is to play defense, right, and to be a backup point guard, right? Your job is to play defense on the other team best scorer and to be the backup point guard if the guy get in foul trouble, whatever. That's your role. I'm there to support. I'm not coming in there to score all the points. I'm not coming in there to, you know what I'm saying? I'm coming in to support what they already have going on, right? I'm supposed to support these people. Many people want somebody else to pay the bills, but what they want to do is just live their own independent life off that person. That's what children do. Children live off bill payers and they don't support anything. They just live off the bill payer. What we've conditioned a lot of women that they're supposed to do is they're supposed to live off the bill payer and not support that person and nothing they got going on. And if the bill payer can't agree to that, then there's something wrong with the bill payer. So then you end up with this issue to where it creates friction, because I think my position is I just live off a bill payer and they can't ask anything out of me. Right. So if I want to get in a relationship with somebody else and they're going to pay all the bills financially, right? What am I willing to do to support that particular person? I'm just supposed to just sit up and be pretty. And that's what a lot of women have been sold on. Okay. Everybody got to play a role in this. So Katrina talked about it's 7 support soldiers for 1 combat soldier. She 100% correct. And what's our expectation of that combat soldier? So we can't hold that combat soldier to an expectation and the support soldiers not doing their job. Everybody got a role in this. So we can't tell the combat soldier, you got to go head first into combat with no questions asked. You got to follow orders, put yourself in dangerous, life-threatening situations. And the support soldier just sitting back, just chilling. Because, you know, the combat soldier, he going to do all the work, man. And then if he don't do the work, man, he'll pump. You can't build structure like that. But that's what a lot of people have been sold on how it's supposed to work. And it don't work that way. It's never worked that way. And it don't work that way for successful families. It works that way for unsuccessful families. Right? So you're a member of a family, right? Male or female. You're a member of a family. What are the expectations of the men in the family? Do you know? The hell with everybody else. We're talking about your family. Your individual family. Because a lot of people, when they on this YouTube and they complain about men and women, you know what they're really talking about? Their own family. They're not talking about my family. I know that for a fact. They talk about their own family. So they mad about their family situation. They can't be mad about my family. They don't know us. So the question you want to ask people is that, what are the expectations of the men in your family? The hell with everybody else's family, because you got to get your own family situation together first. What are the expectations of the men in your family? Do you know what those expectations are? Because if you say, well, there are no expectations, well, I see why you on YouTube arguing about everything. I see why you so nasty and you so bitter. I see why, because there's no expectations. Or you don't know what the expectations are because they haven't been set. Right? So I'm dealing with a media buyer right now. You know about expectation? You know what I told him? Leads got to be under $20 a lead. Got to be 20 or under $20 a lead. That's the expectation. He talking about something, well, clicks are cheap. I don't care about clicks. This is a lead generation campaign. Here's your budget. Here's what I'm paying you per hour. Here's how many hours you got allotted. And I need leads to come in out of these particular geographical areas. I need them to be at $20 or less per lead. That's your expectation. Right? I gave expectations of him before we started the campaign, so he know what I'm looking for. I just didn't tell him to run ads, and then if it don't work, I just start talking about him like a dog, and I didn't tell him his expectation. And he was trained to meet those expectations before I put him on the campaign. So when I'm talking to any person, but especially women that's complaining about men, I asked them, what are the expectations of the men in your family? Right? It get real quiet. Get real quiet. Right? Roman Cathedral quiet. We having prayer service in the Roman Cathedral with one person. That's how quiet it get. All of us, see, because that don't feed the relationship business model structure to give them something to talk about. Right? Because one thing about me, I'm not with all the ranting and rant. I don't get into none of that. That's not my personality. Right? I like to get to, let's solve the problem and move past it so we can do something else that's fun. Right? So that's the question is, what are the expectations of the men in your family? Do you know what those expectations are? That's the most important thing. Right? Do you just want to argue and be nasty because you don't know the answer? So you divert into just being arguing and being nasty. And that's what a lot of people do. Second question, how does your family train boys to meet that expectation? So if I have so I say, we want to put out this type of person. How do we train people to be that type of person? So based on the expectation of our family for men, how do we train our boys to meet the expectation? Right? Because this is what successful families know how to do. We have an expectation. So we're talking about, we're building out a tribe, right? We want the men in our tribe to conduct themselves a certain way. This is our expectation of them. How do we train them to meet that expectation? It's not just on the men, it's on the whole tribe. Because it's how we trying to function. So how does your family train boys in your tribe to meet that expectation? How do they train them? Then when you ask the people that just want to complain about men on the internet, when you start asking them about how does this dynamic work in their own family, it get real quiet. We having prayer service in the middle of the universe. That's how quiet it get. Then they start coming with all the sideshow stuff because they can't speak to this. But this is what successful families do. This is internal because a successful group produces its own leadership. See, no successful group says it's only the responsibility of one side of the group to produce the leadership. It's the job of the whole group to produce the leadership. Everybody's involved in producing the leadership of the group. It's not just on one part of the group. So once you segment it out on one side, you're already lost because you're competing against groups where the whole group produces the leadership. So if you look at the dude that is the leader of the Communist Party of China, he was produced by the Communist Party of China. It wasn't on one group inside the Communist Party. It wasn't on the males to produce him. The party produced him. And he got a PDF speaking of his experiences in the party, which is like his origin story. The party produced him. His father and his mother were in the party. He was produced by the party. He's a product of the party. Successful groups produce their own leadership. And it's on the group to produce the leadership. It's not on, it's the men of the group. No, the group produces the leadership. So Chairman Xi of China, one of the strongest countries in the world, probably going to be leading the world over the next 20 to 30 to 40 years if everything goes their way. They got a population issue, but they're going to work that out. They're very resourceful. He was produced by the party, which in their structure really replaces the family. They produced him. So you got to understand is that successful groups produce their leadership. Unsuccessful groups don't produce leadership. And then when you ask them, how come the leadership hasn't been produced? You know what they start doing? They start playing the blame game. Y'all might know who Rick Fox is. Y'all know Rick Fox, Bahamian dude, Pretty Ricky, right? When I found out he was Bahamian, I tripped out because every Bahamian I knew was dark skinned. And then I was in high school. I met a light-skinned Bahamian that looked like him, but all the Bahamians I knew was dark-skinned. It was like he Bahamian. I was like, okay. I thought he was just mixed. So he was doing an interview about how they lost to the finals in Detroit. Thinking that was 0-4. They lost in 5 games. He said they had lost them games, right? And they was like, man, we're going to have a players-only meeting. We're going to try to get to the bottom of this because we're going to mess around and lose these finals. We're trying to three-peat. Rick Fox said they got into that meeting. And they started talking about why they was losing. You know what he said happened? Everybody started pointing fingers. He said, you know what he realized then? He said, we ain't going to win this final. Because we already lost. Because why? We point fingers at everybody. We a team, and we trying to figure out why we losing. It's everybody else's fault. He said, yeah, we going to lose this finals. And they went right out there. They got beat in 5 games. Right? Successful groups, when they trying to solve their problem, they don't start talking about what everybody, they start trying to figure out how we can all get on the same page to solve the problem. Ain't no finger point. They try to figure out how can we build consensus? How can we get on solidarity on a particular issue and move forward? Unsuccessful groups, well, what's going on? It's their fault. When you go to the other group, what's going on? It's their fault. When you got a football team, if the defense blaming the offense, the offense blaming the defense, I know why y'all not winning. I know why y'all not winning. I just figured out why y'all not winning. Because the defense blaming the offense and the offense blaming the defense. So that's why you're not winning. Successful teams, you don't have that. Right? So you got to understand success leaves clues. Unsuccessful stuff leave them same clues. Okay, we're going to keep going. How does your family hold men to the expectation? So if we create an expectation, we train the person to live up to the expectation. How do we hold men to the expectation? What are the internal standards to live up to the expectation? Right? Because when Chairman Xi was growing up in China, they felt like because of the family that he came out of, he was starting to become bourgeois. So you know what they did? They sent him to a labor camp. Sent him to a labor camp. And he lived in that labor camp and worked in that labor camp because he had to reform himself from a lot of bourgeois ideas he had. Because he grew up with everything because his people was real high up in the party. So they had an expectation of how he's supposed to conduct himself as a communist. And when they felt like he wasn't living up to that expectation, they had a way of correcting his behavior to make sure he lived up to that expectation. And if he would not have corrected himself, the situation would have got even worse for him. So he had to correct himself because they weren't going to have that out of him. And he speaks about how that was a real important moment in his life, working every day, getting up, working with peasants, or what they call peasants. I don't mean to say that in a derogatory standpoint, but working with these people that were a much lower social class, which is supposed to be the people he was supposed to be trying to help. And he never knew people like that because that wasn't his background. So when I'm looking at a group of people, I say, okay, well, you have an expectation of your men. You have a training program to train them. Then how do you hold them to the expectation? Once again, right? I'm sitting in the middle of the Swiss Alps all by myself and I can't hear nothing. Right? But if I do a YouTube about who gonna get the first plate, the chat going crazy. It's blazing, chat blazing. So, like I said, when most people is on this social media talking about men and women, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about their own family. They're not talking about me. They're not talking about my family. They're talking about their family. Right? And they're mad about their family not living up to their expectations. They're not mad at me because they don't know me. So they can't project their insecurities and their disappointments on me. I won't accept that. I won't receive it. Right? I don't play that game because as a black man in this country, everybody try to put their issues on you and then you supposed to deal with that. I don't do that. That's y'all issue. You need to get with the men of your tribe and work that out. That's not my issue. Let's keep going. Now, here's the most important thing. Well, one of the most important things. How does your family reward men for meeting the expectation? See, because once again, I'm supposed to work, pay all the bills, be responsible for everything financially, and I get no reward. That's not how this works. Human beings operate based on their own incentives. Right? So let me give you some insight into me. There's a Jamaican model named, I think her name is Janelle Williams. That's her name, Janelle Williams. And I was going to do a video. I may still do the video. The reason why hypergamy is BS for a lot of women is because they're not attractive enough to just sit there and be pretty and have the man pay all the bills. So they're playing a game in which they never going to be successful. And I'm not saying that to be derogatory. What I'm saying is that if they want to best everything just based on a beauty metric, many people ain't going to be able to meet it. So they need to try to figure out how to make myself valuable outside of somebody just think I'm pretty. When you're talking about a person has to do everything for you, meet these expectations, yada, 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 how do they get their reward? What is their reward for doing all that? Right? I'm in here kicking down doors. I'm making all the money. I'm out here in the marketplace. I'm making sure that things are going the way. I'm making sure that things will go right. I'm making sure it's a roof over everybody's head. There's food in the refrigerator, yada, yada, yada. What's my reward for that? What's my reward? I just get to be around you. That's my reward. I just get to be with you. Or is my reward we get to have children? You're going to have kids with somebody anyway. Y'all not having kids because nobody not taking care of you. It's never been a scenario where women have decided, well, men ain't taking care of me. We're going to stop having children. Y'all having children anyway. So that's not a reward because y'all going to have kids with somebody. So what is my reward? And when you're looking at people's reward, what you want to ask yourself is what's important to that person, not what's important to you. And a lot of women have been programmed through this internet and through a lot of bad programming is that what's important to me is what should be important to that man. That may not be true. Right? So you may find a man to where you can just sit there and be pretty. That ain't enough for me because you're not Janelle Williams. Right? So you need to ask yourself, what is the reward for the man meeting that expectation? And that should come from your family. That should be the role model of what you've already seen. So that's why we always go back to your family, which is what we say a lot of people, that's their real issue. It's not me, it's their family. Next question. How does your family punish men for not meeting the expectation? So if in your group, if men don't meet the expectation, how are they punished? Because if there's going to be a reward, there got to be a punishment. right? And it go the same way for women. If women don't meet the expectation, they got to be a punishment too in the family. But we're talking about men right now. So if men don't meet the expectation in your family, how are they punished? Because one of the biggest things that we've done, because since day one we landed here, they've destroyed our families. There is no internal mechanism for a lot of people to where if a man isn't doing what he should be doing, right, the internal mechanism punishes him. Once again, we're going to use the Communist Party as a mechanism. When Jack Ma got out of turn, what did the party tell Jack Ma you got to do? You got to stay in the house for 90 days or until we tell you to come out. Because you're not meeting our expectations. You don't speak out against us in public because you're a member of the party. See, Jack Ma is just not a billionaire CEO. He's an actual member of the Communist Party of China. So you don't in public come out against the party and criticize us. You're not meeting our expectations. So your punishment is that you're going to be censured, if I said that word properly, for 90 days, right? And then you got to correct your behavior. Then we're going to deal with you from there on out. So they have their own internal mechanism to punish people that don't meet their expectations. A lot of people, if a man don't do what they're supposed to do, it just whatever. So there's no punishment in it. So there's no reward, and there's no punishment. So let me ask you a question. If you can't reward and punish people in a way in which is important to them, how do you govern their behavior? Right? How do you govern their behavior? If you can't reward and punish people in a way in which that is important to those people, how do you govern their behavior? You can't. Right? So you see how a world where everybody just does what they want to do with no repercussions is a trick bag. Right? It's a trick bag. But you don't think that because, well, I get everything I want. Well, you can't get everything you want because you're on YouTube complaining about everything and you sour and you mad all the time. And you're disappointed and you're disgruntled. So you can't really be getting everything you want. But I think I am because they sold me on, yeah, we're going to create this world where, you just do everything you want to do, where nobody can tell you nothing. There's no rules and regulations. There's no structure because that's how the world should be. And they give you that while they got all the structure in the world. That's why they run in the world. And your family is not running anything. Right? Let's keep going. So what I want you to understand is this, right? And I learned this from this dude in business. Makes a lot of money. Little New Zealand white dude make a lot of money. He taught me this. Your group is currently meeting its lowest expectations. So when you have a group, right, you have expectations in your group. You know what expectations your group is going to live up to? The lowest expectations. They're not going to live up to the highest. Nobody does. Everybody lives up to their lowest expectations. They never live up to their highest because their lowest expectations becomes a status quo, right? That's why I tell people, so you got to really watch what your expectation is. Doesn't mean you're going to always hit it, but it means that whatever your lowest expectation is, over time, that's what you're going to live up to. So you can set real high expectations. Don't mean you're going to hit it, but whatever your lowest expectation is, over time, you'll meet that. So let's say it's acceptable for me, right, to be in a bad situation, right? It's acceptable. So do you know what happens when I get in a bad situation? I accept it. Somebody else say it's unacceptable for me to be in that situation. So when they get in that situation, they figure a way to get out of it. So you got the brother, forgot his name, man. He used to be a comedian and he went to LA to try to make it in comedy. And, things didn't go the way he wanted to go because it's hard to make it in entertainment. And he ended up being outside. And somebody said, well, how come you didn't stay there? He said, because that's not me. So I had to figure something out to get out of that situation because my lowest expectation is not that I live outside. Now, I'm not disrespecting nobody that live outside. I'm from Florida. A lot of people live outside. I don't look down on them. That's how they want to live their life. A lot of people in Florida living in tents. I don't look down on them. You can do that in Florida. The weather's nice. You got great weather down there. I was looking at it the other day. It's 75 degrees in Orlando. Beautiful. I just don't like the city. Right? Beautiful weather. So you can live outside in Orlando pretty much year round. I got to worry about is the rain. But it wasn't his expectation that I'm coming to LA to live outside. That wasn't even acceptable to him. So what did he do? Once he got into that bad situation, I got to get myself out of this. Right? Your group, your family, whatever group you're running with, y'all are currently meeting your lowest expectation. That's the expectation you're meeting. All this complaining online is part of your group culture. Because I got members of my family, they not even on social media. You know, my dad don't even have the internet on his phone. He got a cell phone. He don't have no internet. I got to get in contact with my father. I got to call him or write him with snail mail. Ain't no texting my father. He don't do the internet. So it's interesting to me that we got all these people on the internet complaining and 12-hour live streams and all that. That's part of your group culture. It is just part of your group culture. And you're currently meeting your lowest expectations, right? Because when you ask them those earlier questions, right? Because this is what I would do when I would diagnose people's businesses. Because your personal life, your business is an extension of your personal life, right? So once we understand that, then we understand that nobody has business problems. They got personal problems. So if your business isn't operating the way you wanted to operate, we look at what's going on in your personal life, right? And so many times when you ask people these things, we find out that, you know what, they've never asked themselves these type of questions because it's not part of their culture. They don't have a culture of creating expectations for people in their group. They don't have a culture of creating reward and punishment for people in their group. It's just everybody just does whatever they want to do. Well, that's exactly what you're going to get. Now you're competing against groups that have very strict internal structure. And you wonder why you can't beat them. Because they living through structure. Y'all living through everybody just do what they want to do. You know, you meet a guy, you like how he look. Let's have a child. You gonna get married? No, I don't believe in getting married. You know, that's too oppressive. Then, he can take care of the baby. Oh, well, you know, well, that's whatever. You know, then the men, you meet a chick, you barely know her, you get her pregnant. You know, oh man, my baby mama crazy. Well, what you knew about her before you got her pregnant? Nothing. That's how y'all live your life. Then everybody on YouTube talking about what's wrong with everybody. You don't talk about, I never had a structure to operate under from the gate. So I just was playing it by ear because my family didn't ever build out a structure for me.